What's up, everybody? This is episode 94 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting us thus far. For those who haven't checked out any of our episodes, go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. But without further ado, um, actually before we get into our special guest, check out Core Cred's new app, the Players Circle. It's a app that definitely encompasses basically what a basketball player is all about. Go check it out on the Apple Store. But without further ado, we have a very special guest tonight. She's part of a basketball family that has produced plenty of talented basketball players. Played at Aquinas High School in the Bronx. Was a member of the Final Four team at Rutgers University in 2007. Is now the CEO of Smiling Bellies. I give you Miss Judith Brittany Ray-Wallace.
Thank you, Dave. It is a pleasure for me to be here today. I guess just the background, we met at the International Grind at the Gauchos gym this summer. And, I've been following you on Twitter, following you on Instagram, and it was just such a pleasure to finally get to meet you in person. And I'm happy that we are connecting now. It's a
Indeed.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, most definitely. So, my very first question is, when did basketball first start for you?
So I started playing basketball when I was like, I would say six or seven. So I got introduced to it by my dad and my older brother. I always seen my dad and my older brother leave the house. So, I would be in the house by myself. At this time, right, I didn't have my two younger brothers weren't there. It was just me and my older brother at the time. So I would always see my brother go out with my dad and I would get jealous
Mhm.
sometimes, and I would have a tantrum and I would be like, yo, why can't I go outside, with you and Allan? And my mom was just like, she's been outside, she's been inside with me all the time. So I think she wants to, play basketball and see what it is that you do. So I started going to the gym with my dad and my brother around 6, 7 years old.
Wow, that's dope right there. So,
Right.
what part of the Bronx did you grow up in, and what was the basketball culture like over there?
So I'm from the Highbridge section of the Bronx, so that's basically right by Yankee Stadium. But I also associate myself with Soundview and Castle Hill because that's where I went to. That's where basically I played organized my first set of organized basketball at Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club on Randall Avenue in the Bronx. So it's basically like right up the block from the community center, Kips Bay, is
Mm-hmm.
Castle Hill,
Yeah.
and further up the block from there is Soundview. So two of my best friends live in that area as well. So I would just hang out with them most of the time if I wasn't on in Highbridge where I lived at. So definitely Highbridge, Castle Hill, and Soundview, and the basketball tradition coming from there. Like, we everybody that's from Castle Hill and Soundview, reps Kemba Walker. Kemba is a childhood friend of mine, and to see his success to become, from Rice High School to UConn to making the NBA. Everybody always doubted him because he was smaller than the rest of the guards. But one thing about Kemba, he has heart. You know, um, and that's the culture of the Bronx. Like everybody from the Bronx has heart. Like we a lot of us, I feel like the Bronx is an underrated borough for some reason. I always feel like I grew up with a chip on my shoulder because being from the Bronx. So yeah, those are the hoods that I represent. Obviously, the tradition of St. Raymond's basketball in the Bronx. My brother was a part of that. So that whole tradition there. I'm rooted in that. My brother started out at the Gauchos gym. So, you know, and just to piggyback off the first question you asked me, you know, I remember going into the Gauchos gym with my brother at that young age, you know, seeing the bull on the wall walking into the gym. So yeah, basketball is very, very big in, you know, New York City and in the Bronx. From Dykeman basketball, like I grew up going to Dykeman, you know, Dykeman basketball and watching my brother in the stands. So, you know, my brother's the one of the 25 greatest players to ever play at Dykeman, Allan Ray. So, you know, basketball is in my blood. And in my family, like you said, you know, I come from a basketball family. You know, my older brother went to Villanova University, played in the NBA, you know, played on the Celtics, and then had an illustrious career overseas for 13 years. My middle brother right now is in Turkey, playing in his fourth professional season overseas. You know, he went to Kennesaw State, but before Kennesaw State, he was at Quinnipiac University. And then my youngest brother is at Southern University right now. He's no longer eligible to play on the court, but you know, he's still finishing up school and stuff like that. But you know, this basketball thing has given us opportunities that I will forever be grateful for.
Shout outs to the Ray family, man. You guys have really been blessed on the on the court, but also in life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How are the battles growing up in the household?
Oh, nonstop. You know, just my older brother never let me win. You know, he and rightfully so, he shouldn't have, right? If he wanted me to get better and to develop as a player on my own, you know, I would play against my brother, and to this day, I still have not beat my brother. Till this day, you know, he never took it easy on me, growing up. And the battles, I would get so upset, you know, playing against him blocking my shot, but and him stealing the ball from me. But all those things that spurred out of him playing against me and not taking it easy on me kind of helped me with my growth playing basketball with growing up with girls. You know, it made me tough, and it just made me hungry. I understood how to play the game, um, I guess strategically, if you understand that, because obviously I'm a girl and my brother's a guy, so he has so many different advantages over me, you know, from speed to strength to all these different things. But as time built on, I understood that my IQ could outweigh his speed or, you know, his strength, you know, using stuff like being doing hesitations or, you know, changing speeds or using pump fakes, using shot fakes, head fakes, all these other things I had to incorporate into my game in order to potentially try to beat my brother. But trying to do that helped me develop my game on the court.
Yeah, man, that's big right there. And plus, I know Pops, he was probably the drill sergeant. He definitely wasn't taking it easy on none of you guys.
Oh no, absolutely not. My
Like,
dad was definitely a drill sergeant, if you want to say. You know, a lot of people who know my dad is not a guy of many words. My dad is usually the person that just sits back and observes everything.
yeah,
But
that
right.
dude has a menacing and intimidating look.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, but my dad, he's real cool, man.
Nah, he is.
He's a real cool guy. But yeah, he didn't take it easy on us at all. Like I remember waking up as a 10-year-old at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the track, you know, because my dad only did not just emphasize like on the court work, he also emphasized conditioning. You know, he also emphasized that because he understood in order for you to be a well-rounded player, you got to be able to run up and down the court, without losing your breath or without getting winded so easily. So we would do all the things that people like probably wouldn't have done themselves. My dad would take us to the track. We would do sprints. We would, he would time us. We would go to the steps. We would go to the steps in Harlem, right across from the Rucker Park.
Oh, McCombs Dam Park?
Yes.
Right where Yankee State, the old stadium is at.
Right.
Okay.
So we would go over there and run track over there and then run the steps over there. So my dad always had us doing conditioning and the other extra work so that we understood, just being disciplined and being consistent with your craft. He showed that, because my dad, he was exercising with us. My dad has always been invested in his physical health. So him showing us that only translated to us being better as just basketball players, but also as people, just understanding discipline and how the rewards of discipline reap for you if you just continue to be consistent.
Yeah, that's what's up. So moving forward, what was some of your favorite basketball tournaments to play at when you were younger?
Whew. So for me, one of the biggest tournaments that I loved to play in was Rod Strickland. I remember getting those. I really love playing the Rod Strickland because you always, like, if you won the tournament, you always got those big trophies. So I remember playing in Rod Strickland as being one of my favorite tournaments, and just always battling with like Roberto Clemente. That's when they had Tina Charles and Marissa Flagg and Diatima Hill and and all these players on the squad. You knew that every time you play Roberto Clemente that it was going to be a battle. So Rod Strickland, we played against him all the time. Even Exodus, playing against Epiphany Prince, we became teammates at Rutgers. But I remember plenty of battles playing against Epiphany at Rod Strickland as well. And then another tournament, it had to be Hammer's tournament at Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, Douglas houses, right?
Yes,
Just say no.
Yes, love that tournament because that court was big outside, and that was one of the courts we always went to and played against. And Hammer's teams always were good. One of my big sisters that I look up to still now, Priscilla Snake Edwards. She's the assistant coach at Providence University right now. Every time I watch Snake play, she was a little older than me, a couple of years older than me, but every time I watch Snake play, I was just like, yo, how does she do what she does? She's nice. So I always wanted to, try to emulate all the people that I've seen. And shout out to Priscilla Edwards.
That's cool right there. So, what were the AAU programs that you played in when you were in high school?
Right. So the predominant one that I played for before they dispelled the team was Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club. And that was specifically the Boys and Girls Club on Randall Avenue in the Bronx and on Bruckner Boulevard. I played there with Angela Barrett, who's the younger sister of Andre Barrett. And that was the team that I played predominantly most of my my amateur basketball with. And then once they finished, I also played with Abyssinian Church. Shout out and RIP to Lex.
Also, Alexis Smith, man.
Good
man.
Right.
I remember when he used to do those tournaments across the street from Fred Samuel, who the community center that everybody knows as Abel, because obviously Mini Sync, I guess they own that gym.
I guess so. But yeah, I remember all them tournaments Lex used to put on. But yeah, I played for Lex for a couple of seasons, and then I also played for Long Island Lightning with Darius Burton, and that was also a great experience as well.
That's so wait, the Gauchos and Exodus never had a chance with you?
So basically, I was loyal to Kips Bay for most of my career, and then we kind of like, they kind of like dispersed the team because funding and all that stuff, came into part. So once they finished, then I played with Abyssinian for a little bit because, I guess at the time Gauchos and all in wasn't checking for me at the time. So my dad knew Lex. We went with Lex, and then after Lex, one of my old former teammates, Daniel Brown. Shout out to Daniel Brown. She went to Columbia. She's an attorney now. She does estate planning. She's just the bomb. But Danielle Brown was playing for the Long Island Lightning, and she was like, "You should come over here. We got a pretty good squad." So we went over there, spoke to Darius Burton, did a tryout, and the rest was history. I played the Long Island Lightning was my last AAU team that I played for. That team, we had a good team. Danielle Brown, Marissa Flagg, who else was on that? Bianca Murray, she went to Syracuse. Kayla DeRoche, she's still playing overseas now. We had a good squad, man. I played on a lot of good teams growing up.
Man, that's cool. So a lot of back in those days, there were a lot of powerhouses in New York City, like Bertram, St. Michael's, Bishop Ford, etc., etc. But you went a different route. You chose Aquinas. What made you choose Aquinas?
So a number of reasons made me choose Aquinas. So first of all, I felt like me and the work that I put in as a student athlete, I felt not trying to be bragging or anything, but I felt if I could go anywhere, I could do work, right? It didn't matter what school I went to. I was going to do work at any school that I went to, whether it was a Christ the King or whether it was Aquinas, right? So that was first and foremost. Secondly, I wanted to go to a school that I knew was going to challenge me academically. I've always been about school. I've loved school. I've always been a scholar and an academic. I was salutatorian in elementary school, and I graduated valedictorian of my graduating class at Aquinas. So I wanted to go to a school that would challenge me academically. And because Aquinas at the time was a blue ribbon school, and it was also considered an all-girls preparatory school in the middle of the Bronx. So I'm like, all right, it's an all-girls college preparatory school in the middle of the Bronx. That wins for me. And lastly, I wanted to stay in the Bronx. Because like I said, I'm loyal to the Bronx.
Yeah. And so I know that going to all those other schools, like traveling, getting up in the morning would have been impossible for you.
Right.
Because you live in Highbridge, so all you have to do is probably take the 4 train to Fordham. Going up that hill, that's a lot. You got
right. So basically, what I used to do is, so I was a little spoiled. My dad would drive me sometimes.
Oh wow!
Right. My dad would drive me, but sometimes I would also, hop on the bus if I couldn't get a ride from my dad. I would take the what was it, the 36 bus? The 36 bus basically left you a block away from the a few blocks away from the school, from my house, going to Aquinas. So all I had to do was take that bus straight and then, walk a couple of blocks to the school. It made sense to me. And then when I did my visit to Aquinas, it just felt like home for me. Like, it felt like I belonged there. So, and then I also didn't have any problem going to an all girls school because my brother went to an all boys high school. So it was just like, my parents were like, "You're going to all girls high school. No ifs, ands, or buts about that." So I was like, Aquinas is it for me.
And then the two younger ones, they went to co-ed high schools.
Right, because we moved out of the Bronx by the time they became high schoolers. We moved upstate. So, upstate's, I guess public system is a little bit better than
Yeah, in the city.
cities. So that's what that's about. But I feel like if we would have stayed in the Bronx, my parents would have put them in all boys high school anyway. They would have went to a Catholic high school regardless.
Possibly St. Ray's, just like Allan.
Right. Possibly. Possibly. But knowing my brothers, knowing Kendrick and Aaron, they probably would have wanted to go somewhere else just to write their own name on something.
Right. Hayes would have been nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Hayes is a prestigious institution, Jamal Mashburn. So yeah.
Yeah, my little brother goes to Hayes. He's a freshman right now.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Congratulations to him.
yeah. Shout outs to Kenneth.
How's he doing with this distance learning?
He's doing pretty well. He's like a lot of kids, they're struggling, but he's adapting to it pretty well.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. I know that's different. I don't know how I would have adapted to just, virtual learning. That's
You and
something.
I would have loved virtual learning in high school, because we had I mean when we were in high school, academics was sometimes rough. Luckily, chemistry, I didn't really have to work too hard with that, because in my high school, my sophomore year, our teacher, he left in the middle of the year, so they passed us all along.
Oh, so you got a freebie.
Basically,
You got
yeah.
an alley-oop. Yay.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So talk about your 4 years at Aquinas.
Yeah, so my 4 years at Aquinas were pretty great. I still speak to a lot of the young women that I met there as a student athlete today. And the academics, the lessons that I've learned at Aquinas from my teachers have, carried over again to this day. But my 4 years at Aquinas were amazing to me, in academics and on the basketball side. From making the varsity team as a freshman to being a starter on the varsity all 4 years. Working my way up to winning a state championship my senior year at Glen Falls. So it was amazing, and bringing that championship back to Aquinas, the first championship ever in their school's history. So I had an amazing time going to Aquinas and writing my own story at a school nobody even looked at for basketball. I kind of went there with the mindset that you know I think I can get something done here because a few of my other teammates from Kips Bay also decided to come to Aquinas. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if we go to Aquinas, we can pretty much recreate the team again and just and just ball. So that's kind of like what we did. Every year we, made it a little further playoff wise, and then my senior year we made it to the States and beat a team that was that had a clean record the whole year. Um yeah, I forget the name of the team that we beat upstate, but they were like 30-0, and we rained on their parade that day. They thought they was gonna
Wow.
Yeah, they thought they was gonna win that championship in Glens Falls, and we was like, nah, we a couple of chicks from the Bronx got something to say about that. So that was great 4 years.
Were you guys in the B division?
Yeah, yep, we won the B division that year.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, man, Aquinas was a great school. It's a shame that unfortunately, this is the final year of that school
Right. They're closing down.
in June.
Which is unfortunate. It's like the same thing that happened to Rice High School. Just closing down such a prestigious institution that has basically, just birthed and groomed so many great individuals.
Right.
So I'm sad to see that it's closing down. I don't even know what's next. I don't even know who's about to occupy that property anymore. But I just know that the memories that I built there, I am forever grateful for moving forward in my life.
I mean, well, chances are, and this is what's happening to a lot of the properties of these Catholic schools. Charter schools, maybe a charter school will buy up that property. That's what's very likely to happen.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, the difference between Aquinas, one similarity of the fact is, declining enrollment. But the difference between then is times were a little bit better back then than they are now. Because it's like at least Rice had a chance of being saved. But unfortunately, I guess the board of directors or whomever wanted, to pretty much kill off the school. With Aquinas, you got the pandemic, which, that's been killing off a lot of things. So
Right. They've already been struggling with getting girls in the school, enrollment. So, and then some of the girls obviously are struggling with payments. Some of the parents are struggling to just keep up with the payments. So
right.
it's a recipe for disaster that's been happening with all these different Catholic schools and throughout the the parishes and all of that within the city. So, but hey, what can we do? The only way we keep it alive is just continuing to talk about the memories that we made there.
Exactly. Shout outs to the Aquinas High School graduating class of 2006.
That's a fact.
Now, talk about your high school recruitment. What was that like?
Wow. So for me, fortunately for me, I had a chance and opportunity to see my brother being recruited. So I had
All right, Britt. So, yeah, you were saying about your recruitment?
right. So basically I was just saying how you know, if you're trying to make a name for yourself as a student athlete, you really gotta grind. Um, and that's one thing that I did with my dad, just practicing all the time, just trying to perfect my craft all the time. I guess I was labeled as a shooter growing up. I was always in the gym shooting with my dad. My AAU development was a guy by the name of Jerry Powell. Jerry Powell out of Long Island.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I can't I don't see you anymore. Yeah, he was one of my trainers growing up.
What was his name? Jerry. Oh, yeah, Jerry Powell.
Right, JP in Long Island. He's trained all of my brothers and I. So he was very pivotal in my success become that gym in Long Island.
So yeah, he was the one that coached you in AAU.
No, Jerry Powell did not coach me at AAU. He just trained me.
Okay.
I was Darius Burton when I played for Long Island Lightning. Darius Burton was the coach.
Okay.
Not sure if he's still coaching with them now, but he was my coach.
So like, how was? Oh, so yeah. Well, like, what were some? Yeah, Britt. So, what were some of the schools that recruited you when you were in high school?
Right. So I had Virginia recruiting me, St. John's, Georgetown, Rutgers came in towards the end. Penn State was in there. A few other small schools like Towson were definitely recruiting me. And it was, back then, I don't even know how the recruiting process really works now with the open and close periods and, the contacts with the coaches. But, I thought that back then when you got the handwritten notes in the mail, those were golden. My mom actually kept, but the top ones that I really came down to were Georgetown, Rutgers, and I think maybe St. John's.
So you said moms kept the letters?
Yeah. My mom kept my college letters, so I have them in a nice binder, so you can see. Maybe one day when we see each other again, I can bring it and let you see.
That's
dope.
that. Yeah, I'd love to see those. So, what made you decide to choose Rutgers?
So it's always a funny story explaining how I got to Rutgers, because like Rutgers came in to my recruiting process towards the end of the process of me knowing that Rutgers was recruiting me towards the end of the process. So
wow.
Right. So for sure I thought I was going to Georgetown University, because Georgetown at the time was the school that was showing me the most love. I seen them at all my tournaments.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it turns out my junior year in high school, going into my junior year of high school, me and my family moved from the Bronx to upstate. And that was during the time, this was way before social media existed and all that stuff. So you really can only get in contact with recruits and parents through the phone. Like, I had a cell phone at the time, but a landline, my house phone was the phone that most of the coaches were calling. So
right.
I didn't know that Coach Stringer was trying to get in contact with me. She kept calling my old number in the Bronx and wasn't getting through. So it's funny how, life just comes full circle. So also in the process, Columbia was recruiting me. I forgot to put Columbia. Columbia and Princeton were also the two Ivy League schools that were recruiting me. So at the time, Tasha Pointer, who is also a former student athlete of Coach Stringer, was coaching at Columbia, and she was recruiting me there. Lo and behold, Coach Pointer told me, like, eventually, because Coach Pointer became my coach at Rutgers my sophomore year, Coach Stringer reached out to Coach Pointer to get my number because she couldn't contact me.
Wow.
And Coach Pointer, just out of loyalty to Coach Stringer, gave her my contact information. And lo and behold, Coach Stringer gave my dad my house a call, and she said that she was recruiting me. I was shocked. I'm like, no way Coach Stringer is recruiting me. Like, I was really shocked that Coach Stringer was recruiting me.
Wow.
Because Coach Stringer always has a you know, a great class of girls that come in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know, thinking about like, yo, there's Cappy Pondexter's is there, Matee Ageron's there, Essence Carson's there, like all these great guards is there. I'm like, why
Why are
would she
you
want me
recruiting
to come in?
beauty?
Right. But I realized in that whole spin of things, like Coach Stringer needed a shooter on the team. So that was the role that I was gonna come in and fulfill. So that's and like Coach Stringer, my last game of the summer, going into my senior season, Coach Stringer was at the Big Apple tournament. There was a Big Apple tournament at Fordham University.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen Coach Stringer there. And I killed that entire tournament, Dave. Like that tournament, I was like, yo, I'm gonna just go out. I killed every game. And I think that
But yeah, you were saying?
yeah, so I think one of the things that sealed the deal for me was competing in the Big Apple tournament. I think it was the Big Apple Classic or something like that. It was kind of like the diluted version of Rumble in the Bronx for girls at Fordham University, right? So I played there and I just killed every game. I think I had like 30 every game, whether we won or lost. And that kind of like capped it for Coach Stringer. Like, oh yeah, she can hold her own. She good enough. So Coach Stringer contacted me. After that, went on an unofficial visit and loved it, and just it was a wrap from there.
So, how was the transition from high school to Division One basketball? Like, talk about the growing pains early on as a freshman.
Absolutely, extremely difficult when you're transitioning from high school to college. It's so much like kind of like a culture shock, if you want to say, in a sense, like um especially if you're going to school out of state, right? I went to New Jersey, which is not that far, but it's still out of state. I still had an opportunity to to live on campus and do all the other stuff that regular students get to do.
Shout
But
out to College Ave.
right, shout out to College Ave. Shout out to College Avenue, Rockoff Hall, the Rack, everywhere at RU. RU is such a big campus too. Like just being able to navigate the campus, like, and for me, when I was in school, I was a bioscience major, so a lot of my courses were on campuses that were far out the way. So I had to learn how to use the bus system in college, which was a learning curve. Sometimes you get on the bus and it's going the wrong way and you don't know what's going on. And then the summer compared to like when the school actually opens are two completely different times. Like the summertime, nobody's barely there, and it's empty. But when the fall runs around and then everybody's coming back for school, it's a little bit more, traffic that's on campus and stuff like that. So you gotta just learn how to navigate your way with that. Where the dining halls is at, opening up a bank account for the first time. Like these are all growing pains that you learn. And one of the biggest things for me was my nutrition. So I came in overweight.
Oh boy.
When I
They've
went to,
made you work. I'm sure, like the
right.
thing that a lot of kids don't realize is in college they make you work, and those strength trainers are getting paid for. The strength and conditioning people are getting paid for a reason.
Absolutely. So like when you're in high school and you know you're good, you can get by with a poor diet, like, because everybody is not that good in high school. There's only about a few people who really, you know, separate themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
when you in college, everyone is elite, especially if you at the D1 level. Like, I'm at the D1 level. I'm competing at the time in the best conference in women's college basketball and in college basketball, the Big East, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the real Big East, not the Big East of today. Talking about the real Big East, you know. So with the UConn, you know UConn.
Yeah.
So 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 yeah, that was a very big shock for me, nutrition wise. Like, I came in overweight. I ate whatever I wanted in high school. You know, nobody was telling me what I should be eating. You know, that's one of the reasons why I started my business, is because I think that at the grassroots level, you know, elementary school going into high school, black and brown kids um should understand that having
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely yeah, keep going about the about the nutrition part.
yeah, so I realized that, you know, I started my business because I wanted to be what I needed when I was growing up as a student athlete. And I had everything else. You know, I had the work ethic. I had, you know, my dad who was training me with other trainers like Jerry Powell and stuff like that. But I did not get the piece about health and nutrition, about how if you're fueling your body properly, it won't break down. You know, a lot of us suffer injuries in college and stuff like that because at the collegiate level, the pace is faster. You know, the players are a little bit stronger, faster. So you got to be able to compete with these individuals, and the only way you're gonna do that is by making sure that, you know, adhering to your nutrition. I think that's one of the things that we learn later down, further down the line, and but that's
Mm,
something that we need to be learning in the beginning,
yeah.
so that we are properly fueling ourselves. You know, I didn't learn about the importance of nutrition until after I stopped playing. You know, you feel me? So I learned all of this while being a chef, being a and actually working with the food. Like, I've been a chef for a decade now. You know, that was my pivot after life after sports. Basically, that was my pivot. And in my journey as a restaurant chef, I started out at Cracker Barrel, you know, which is a chain restaurant. And then I worked my way up to a four-star hotel, a yacht club, and then a small farm to table restaurant. And now I'm currently the residential chef at a treatment facility center upstate New York, where we
Wow.
house kids who have developmental disabilities and are also on the autism spectrum. So right there, amount of behaviors that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
you said right there that basically lets you know, like, what can trigger you if you don't eat right.
right, right. So that's why I'm so big on this message, Dave, like, and trying to bring health and wellness into the athletic space, because, you know, we see all these things when we go to college. Like, you know, now at Rutgers, they got like a multi-million, superb nutrition now. You know,
Yeah.
they can get meals on the go. They can get smoothies and shakes and all these
Hmm.
other things that are available to them now. That wasn't so when I was in school. You know, we didn't have all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you seeing it come into the forefront now in colleges, but me as a person who's lived the student athlete lifestyle and understands the grind, this is something that is a missing link for our youth.
Yeah.
And I will not stop promoting this until it becomes something that's normal in our
Yeah.
communities.
Well, I could say this as far as Rutgers. they're able to do stuff like that because they actually have more resources than other schools,
Right.
particularly mine, St. Francis, Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? I'm like I haven't been their student manager in 2.5 years. So, but when I was like, I know that they had like protein shakes for the players and stuff like that. But what you're talking about is something like something on a whole other spectrum. Like that's big
Correct.
right there.
Correct. I'm just trying to change the culture, Dave, because I'm tired of seeing people who look like me, they're passing way too early.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people should be dying of heart disease at 50 years old.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think people should be dying of cancer at 52 years old. Like, that is still very young.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing this in our communities every day, somewhat the chronic illness that is perpetuated in our communities is is mostly caused by lifestyle and diet. So it's like if I can educate people about the things that they're eating and the things that are causing harm to them, then I'm gonna do my best to try to convey that message.
Indeed. So, talk about your freshman year at Rutgers, the entire season.
Right. So that was one of the most transformative basketball seasons I ever had in my life. That season we came in, I was a part of a five freshman class. It was me, Epiphany Prince, Maya McCurdy, Rashida Junad, and Delaquise Jernigan. And, we came in as one of the top classes in the country. And we were terrible in the beginning. Like we thought we knew what we were doing. We were all very headstrong.
Yeah, you said you
Under
were all headstrong.
Right. You know that, like, when you come in as a freshman, you very headstrong. Like, yo, I'm coming in. I'm gonna make sure I contribute and all that. Like, that's not what the things that you think is gonna happen in your head. They never pan out because experience isn't the teacher. You feel me? Like,
Yeah.
you can think about all the things that you're going to do, but when reality actually presents itself to you, things may be a little bit different. So in the beginning, we kind of struggled. Um, One, because we didn't have any chemistry in the beginning, and we trying to find our chemistry. Two, there was five freshmen on the team, and we had no seniors, so we had all underclassmen on the team. We had two juniors, no, three juniors, and then two sophomores. So that
Hmm.
was we were a relatively very young team. And then our juniors were hurt in the beginning. So that year when I came in, Matee Iservon just had a rod put in her leg.
Wow.
She broke a shin bone or something like that. So she was recovering, and then Kia Vaughn was coming off of USA play overseas in the summertime, and she hurt her shoulder or something like that. So we were pretty banged up
Hmm.
in the beginning, and Coach Stringer really had to um, put some lean on the freshmen a little bit, and we had no idea what we were doing
Hmm.
in the beginning, because that transition is a gradual one,
Hmm.
coming from high school to college. But my freshman year, the one game that will ever forever be embedded in my cerebellum is when we lost to Duke by 40 at the rack my freshman year.
Oh yeah, that was. Oh yeah, when you saying 40 point loss, I know C Vivian Stringer wasn't happy about that.
Oh, I wish I could tell the story all the time, like specifically from that game. Like, Coach Stringer called the timeout. It was probably like a couple of minutes left in the fourth quarter, and a few of the fans were already leaving the stadium. Coach Stringer called the timeout and basically said, she turned around and looked and told us to look at the fans. She was like, you see the fans? They leaving y'all because y'all put on a piss poor performance today. This is what she telling us. She was like, y'all did not show up today. Y'all did not represent Scarlet Knights today. And that's why y'all see people leaving and putting their backs on you and turning their backs on y'all. She was like, remember how this feels.
Damn.
Remember how this feels. So I will remember that for the rest of my life. Because that was like my first game I think I started as a freshman, and I played terrible that game, played really bad that game. Was nervous, and just during the season we just got better because we just stuck to it and committed to each other. We committed to being on the defensive side, we committed on the offensive side. Everybody had their strengths and weaknesses, and I think on that team everybody just realized what their role was. Another key pivotal game where I think we grew up a lot was when we played Ole Miss, and we went into triple overtime. Kind of like lifted the team to victory that game.
Y'all won that. How much did y'all end up winning by?
It was not that much, really, a few points, if that. We actually played against our Minty Price that game. And she's actually the coach at Ole Miss right now. I think she had like 40 on us that game. But we came out with a win, and it was remarkable we came out a win because Essence and Matisse fouled out that game. So, and they fouled out in like the third quarter. So
wow.
So that was a good game for us. And then moving along in the season, at the Big East tournament that season, we beat UConn. Like, that's my biggest bragging right to this day. Wow. I beat UConn at UConn my freshman year for a Big East championship, right? So just a backstory. Weeks before that Big East championship, we played UConn and they smacked us. Like, UConn smacked us before we went into the Big East tournament. So I think we lost by like 25. And then we came into the tournament with like a chip on our shoulder. We were like, yo, we gotta get them back. So yeah, man. That was one of the greatest moments of that season, is being able to beat UConn at UConn. And it was real quiet that day, but we got that done. And then just the remarkable run we had in the NCAA tournament, that year, making it to a Final Four. Because early in the season we got sacked by 40.
Yeah, that's good. That's motivation right there. That really
right. That game became an instant classic too. So, if you ever catch that game, it was the second round in the 2006-2007 NCAA championships or whatever. It's the instant classic. That's the game Piff hit that little floater, and then Lindsey Harden missed the 2 free throws to let us go into the next game. So it was a remarkable game. We won with like 0.2 of a second left on the clock because Lindsey Harden missed 2 free throws. So
wow.
Yeah.
And you guys went all the way to the national championship game, and y'all played Tennessee. Like, talk about playing in that final game.
Nervous as I don't know what. Like, you always dream of getting to a national championship, but to be able to actually do it, it was remarkable, man. Like, just to be playing on that floor with, RIP to Pat Summitt, but she's a legend. I got a chance to play against legends. Candace Parker's still playing. I got a chance to play against her. I got a chance to play against another fellow New York City mate, Shannon Bobbitt.
Shannon Bobbitt.
Right. Right. I got a chance to play against her. Grew up, you know, admiring her too. As a, you know, a great women's basketball player coming out of New York City. So that was just a remarkable experience. Of course, I hated losing that game. Like, I really did. I think to this day, with the score, I think the score was 46-59. We lost. We got. That game was a nightmare for us. I think the game before, when we played LSU, we shot the ball so well that game that the next game we couldn't get a shot to fall at all. So, but it was a remarkable experience. I still have all my Final Four stuff, you know. So it was an experience I would cherish for the rest of my life.
Yo, I mean, I'm honestly, I must say that I was so happy to see some girls from New York actually getting to make the national championship game. Like, that's big right there.
Facts. You know, I'm always trying to put on for the Bronx, so I love the Bronx, man. So any chance I get to be able to put us on a big stage, I'm here for it.
Yeah. And it's like, I know that, and then like there was this big controversy that happened around that time too with Imus.
Okay.
Like that dude was crazy. I'm like, why would he just sit there and call y'all out of your names, first of all, and then comment on people's hair?
Right. That was something in itself too. Being amongst the chaos of Don Imus, and the remarks he made. I'm sure everybody knows what those were. But they actually, I forget, some of my close friends actually brought that up because he passed away not too long ago, I believe. I was a part of it. He messed up, said something out of the side of his face, out of the side of his neck, and ultimately paid for it temporarily. But yeah, I think that incident just brought our team closer together and you know, just helped us realize who we actually were. Just that we wouldn't allow someone like that to call us out of our name without standing up for ourselves. So that was also the first time I ever kind of like experienced blatant racism, if you want to say. Up until that point, nothing like that had ever happened to me, and just to experience something like that, like the media frenzy that came with all of.
Yeah. But yeah, you said the media frenzy was wild. Like, I know that the school, the SID, shout outs to them. You know what I'm saying? I know that they did everything they could to keep y'all away from the reporters.
Absolutely, but you can't control the fact that reporters is coming to your dorm, right?
Wait, hold up. They came to your dorm?
Reporters was standing outside of our dorms waiting
for us that's crazy.
To go to classes. I remember one time me and Maya actually had to book it after we got off a bus to the rack because we had to bypass a whole bunch of reporters to get into the rack. We were going to do extra workouts or whatever not, and we were just almost bombarded by press and media left and right. So yeah, the frenzy was kind of chaotic, like it really was around that.
Like, it's for that I think Rutgers should have hired some security for y'all, because that's mad. That's insane. Right. That's madness.
Right. Nothing. So yeah, we had to experience that.
But I mean, that was a great season right there.
Right. Great season.
So let's move forward to your junior year. You had a terrific season with 10.2 points. You were the second leading scorer. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, so my junior season was kind of like me stepping into my role as a leader on the team. Obviously I've always been a leader, but you after you've been there for a couple of seasons and you get a feel for, what it is that Coach Stringer expects, you know what it is coming into your junior year, what it is that you had to do. So I really took heed of that title of being, a captain on the team. I was a junior captain on the team my junior year, along with Epiphany. And then, our captains were Kia Vaughn and Heather Zurich at the time. So I just had to step up and be a leader. That's what I had to do. Like my sophomore year, I averaged like 5 points a game, and then I had to step it up my junior year, because I knew that we were gonna be missing some pieces and missing a lot of scoring because Matee and Essence were leaving. So I knew I had to come in and basically provide and contribute in a big way. So that was kind of like my transformative season too. Like I had knee surgery my going into my sophomore year, and then my sophomore year, well, basically 2 times my sophomore year. Like
Wow.
at the end of my freshman year, I tore my meniscus and had to do rehab that whole summer. And then my sophomore year, basically, I had to that whole summer rehab in the summertime going into my junior year on my knee. So that showed me right there and that was like my first glimpse of me getting really into nutrition and stuff like that, because I kind of had like a duality experience with both of my surgeries. Like my first surgery I didn't take very well because it was like my first major surgery. I kind of got like a little bit depressed, and and I didn't do everything that I needed to do. I wasn't eating right. I was eating fast food all the time, and it didn't heal accordingly and properly. So but when I tore it the second time, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I got to make sure that I get back in time. So I really was just drinking water and just making sure my diet was really, really clean. And I came back and did much better my junior year. So my junior year was, I had some good moments. Like I remember we played against Notre Dame, and I broke a tendon. I tore a tendon in my left finger. To this day, my finger still isn't right. Like that game, I tore that tendon, and we got the dub at Notre Dame, in Notre Dame, because Notre Dame at the time was extremely hostile, environment and stuff like that.
I can imagine that. Like I went to Notre Dame a couple years ago with St. Francis when I was the
Right.
manager of that team right there. Yeah, it's a nice campus. It's a town in and of itself.
Right, right. So they are basketball fanatics out there.
Yeah, and
So
football too.
it was right, football, big sports, and
And they
at
got a
Notre Dame.
museum
So
just for the football team, which I think is crazy.
right, right. So I tore my tendon in the beginning of the game. At the free throw line, somebody was about to shoot free throws, and I'm looking at my hand, and I can just see my hand like this. Like my hand was literally like this hanging. And I just yelled to the trainer, I'm like, yo, Lori, look at my hand. And she's like, put your hand down so everybody doesn't see. She's like, what are you doing? So I wrapped up, they call a timeout, whatever. I wrap up my hand and then get to the bench, and she does what she needs to do. And I wound up dropping like 20. Wonderful game that game.
Wait,
too.
how many did you drop?
I think I had like 27 or 28 that game. So that was a real good game for me that I remember my junior year. That was one. And that game is so significant because before that, the day before that, Coach Stringer kind of like cursed us all out because we had a game before that. We played at DePaul, and we had a really just ugly game. And Coach Stringer was like, y'all got to get it together. She lectured us probably for like 2 hours. So that game was me with a chip on my shoulder, trying to be like, all right, we got to get this dub. So that was a great experience.
Then your senior year, you averaged over 14 points a game, which probably
Right.
was your best season in college. Like, talk
I
about
was
that experience.
right. It was my best statistic. Really made the tournament that year, and those years before previously, right? I went to a freaking national championship my freshman year. Second year, we made it. We almost made it to the Elite Eight. We were in the Sweet 16. And then my junior year, I believe
Yeah,
we got
that,
to the Sweet 16.
yeah, you
So
did.
right. So my senior year, we got bumped out in the first round. And that right. Got bumped out in
Wow.
the first round.
Yeah.
At Rutgers. So
What happened that you guys got bumped out in the first round?
we just weren't prepared. Like, we weren't prepared. We had some sophomores on the team who just, you know, didn't kind of like fit into their roles and stuff. They just had a lot of problems during that season. So it's kind of fitting that it ended that way because the season started off just so rocky. So we were young and just we didn't have all the pieces in play, and the people that were on the team they didn't really work like they needed to work. So it was just a tumultuous season altogether.
Yeah. Y'all still made the big dance. Even though it wasn't up
Right,
to regular Rutgers standards, y'all still made it to the
right,
tournament.
right. I think that I can say that like I still got us to the tournament. Even though we got knocked down in the first round, I still made it all 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, you had a wonderful time at Rutgers.
Right. I
Shout
sure
outs to
did.
the Rutgers University graduating class of 2010.
Right. That's a fact.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, Ax, how was it playing with Epiphany Prince for 3 years? Because I
Oh,
know she left early.
right. Piff, playing with Piff, yo, you want to play with Piff. Piff makes the game so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a shooter, Piff being able to break down the defense and just being able to pass me the ball was great. I loved playing with Piff, because growing up I had oh, here's my son. He's just coming to say hi.
What's up, little man? Sorry, I
Hi.
can't see you.
Right. That's a B. That's a B for David. Yep.
What's up, little man?
Yes. Right. But
Mhm.
it was great playing with Piff. Um Piff, she makes the game easy for you. She draws in the defense and all I had to do was, stand there and kind of like just wait for the ball, get set and shoot the ball. And then
Mhm.
eventually, as I, started to develop my skills as a player, basically I was able to break down the defense, more so in my junior year and kick the ball out to Piff and she knocked down the shot. So it went
Mhm.
hand in hand. I think we were, a great backcourt. We just needed some more pieces, and I think we would have been a little bit more successful together.
Well said. So let's talk about SB, Smiling Bellies.
Yes, sir. So Smiling Bellies is my it's my small health and wellness company. Hold on 1 second, Dave.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. All right. We're making way back up here soon.
So Smiling Bellies.
Yeah, so my business Smiling Bellies, I've been running it for the past 5 years, going on 6. And what it is basically it's a health and wellness company that's pretty much dedicated to improving the health and wellness of student athletes as well as the greater community. I kind of like try to simplify it in the sense that I'm trying to get athletes as well as the community to build better health through habits, one habit at a time, one thought at a time, building better self-awareness. So that's pretty much what my company is all about, teaching you how to build better habits around your health through plant-based whole foods diet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I told you, I built my company because I wanted to be what I thought I needed growing up as a student athlete, and I did not have the health and wellness component. So that's what I'm trying to do with my business. That's why you've seen me at International Grind,
Yeah.
providing a recovery station for the guys, because that's something that all these other entities do. The professional athletes around the world, this is how they're treated, with recovery, with their bodies in mind, with proper fuel in mind. One of the things that I do that a lot of people always commend me on is my drink that I make. So
It
I
is a good
realized
drink
that
too.
Gatorade, right, the sports drinks that we have on the market right now, they're extremely toxic because of the ridiculous amounts of sugar that they contain
Mhm.
and all the other things that they contain, like the preservatives and the dyes. You got the red 40s in there with the yellow 5s and the blue 43s. All these different things have negative effects on our bodies, especially as athletes, because we're burning so much energy. We need the proper fuel, and replenishing, they say it replenishes electrolytes, but is it really, when it's loaded with all the other extra stuff? So that's why I make my own, electrolyte drink, which only has 4 ingredients, water, salt, a sweetener of your choice, and you know, a citrus fruit. Citrus fruits are abundant with coconut water. Coconut water is nature's sports drink. So that's what I said. That's what I mean when I'm talking about health education and getting athletes and community members to understand these things. Like, these are the small tips that we talk about, and just uniquely adjust. And it's helped a lot of the people that I've worked with, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to partner with, a few reputable, he retired from. So I got a chance to do a couple of workshops with them.
Oh, who with who?
Um,
Which company?
the MTA,
Okay.
the Metro Transit Authority.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
So I got a chance to do some stuff with them earlier out in my career. I've also worked with this company called the Healthcare Foundations of the Oranges, and they're a healthcare company in East Orange, New Jersey, that services the elderly population. So I've been doing a couple of workshops with them. And then fortunately, I'm really trying to get more into schools and actually talk to the youth about this. I have aspirations to work with plenty of schools down the line.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be super dope. I'd love to
Right.
see Smiling Bellies partner with schools around the country. I think that
Absolutely.
I think that it'll be bigger. It's gonna get bigger.
That's what we trying to do. I'm trying to get big like you, Dave. Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to get big like you. So this is one of the questions that I love to ask before I lead up to the final question.
Okay.
If you could go back to 2009, what would you tell? No, scratch that. If you could go back to 2007, what would you tell 19-year-old Britt as she's going through the growing pains as a freshman at Rutgers University? Is just getting adjusted to the college game after graduating high school, and is developing habits. Um,
Right.
Much needed for her to succeed.
Right. So I would tell her to be a little more kinder to herself, because, you know, coming in, I put so much pressure on myself. You know, pressure to meet the standards of making sure that I had my books in order, because I was taking a difficult major at the time. I was doing biological sciences with a pre-med major, with a pre-med concentration. So I was taking all the major science courses, and I really didn't. I took college very seriously. I think I should have just, you know, be kinder to myself and just stop being so serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people would comment and tell me all the time, like, I had a face that was unapproachable because I was just so laser focused in school, like, you know, just trying to get my work done and trying to make sure that I was competing at a elite, you know, elite D1 level. Like, I just had blinders on. So um that's what I would say. Just be kinder and just relax a little bit more and network more.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to and communicate with people more. I didn't realize the power of networking, I think, until, you know, I finished school and became a real person in the workforce. You know, CEOs of corporations and businesses one day. So you never know what they may turn out to be. Like, so just making sure that you're networking and building relationships and establishing connections while you're in college.
Final question. What's next in the future for Judith, Brittany Ray-Wallace, and Smiling Bellies?
So next in the future for me is actually, you know, I'm a self-published author, and I just, you know, got my book samples in. So big what's next for me is basically putting this book out and seeing what reception I get from the people. I think I put a lot of intention in my book. Hold on, let me just get the book for you real quick so that you can see it, so that y'all can get the, you know, give you a first exclusive on Dave's joint, you know.
Damn, we probably not gonna be able. I'm probably not gonna be able to show it on the screen.
Even if they don't see it,
Mm-hmm.
just know that my first forthcoming book is coming out, Groundwork 29, Books, Ball, and Beyond. I basically wrote this because I had a question, just a general question as to why aren't anybody, or why isn't anyone mentioning the fact that most student athletes don't become professional athletes. You know, we become professionals in something other, in some other arena or some other field. So because I was fortunate enough to, you know, to be on both sides, play as a professional athlete, and also, you know, be a regular person working in the world, I felt like I had a unique perspective, and I just wanted to tell my story. So Groundwork 29, Books, Ball, and Beyond is my journey and my advice manual to the next generation of athletes. And then for Smiling Bellies, I just hope to continue to build my groundwork and, you know, build my following with that, and connect with different schools and different AAU programs and different tournaments. Like, I have aspirations to really bring health and wellness into the athletic realm. So that's what I guess is next for me.
Well, Britt, thank you for coming on to share your testimony. Um, the story is definitely dope. And I wish you and Smiling Bellies nothing but the best moving forward.
Dave, I appreciate you. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for the culture. It is much needed, and you know, you keep doing everything that you're doing with Dave's joint, and always know that I'll always be a supporter of yours.
Love. Well, everybody, this is episode 94 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Excuse us if it's a little choppy, but then again, a lot of your favorite programs have technical difficulties anyway. So, but yeah, shout outs to our good friend Miss Judith Brittany Ray-Wallace for coming on to share her testimony. For those of you from Aquinas High School, Highbridge, Rutgers University, and so on and so forth, go check out this interview on Facebook, IGTV, and YouTube. Stay blessed, stay safe. Peace.
Peace.